All right, the next thing that we're going to cover is laying out and arranging your merchandise and the placement and taping of your product cards. What you're going to need for this is you're going to need a price list, your product cards, and your fireworks, your merchandise. We've already determined where our checkout area is, and we want to start just to the right of that. As you walk into your tent, for the customer, it's on the right. For you behind the counter, it would be on the left. So we're going to start right here next to our entrance that we made. And what we're going to do is we're going to start laying out our merchandise according to this list. Now you start at the fountains, which are the top left of your price list. And so there's a couple different things to keep in mind when you're doing this. One, you don't need your product cards at all until you've got all your merchandise laid out. I've seen people make this mistake before. They lay out an item, they tape the card. Big, big, big mistake. You've got to lay all your items out first, then go back and tape your cards down. So you don't even need these. So for now, we'll just put them up.
That also includes your 70%, not just the items that are on this list. So you'll be getting anywhere between 10 and 15 items that are 70%. So make sure those are put out as well before you start putting the price tags down.
Right. And we'll talk a little bit more about inserting those, where and how to insert them. Okay, so as we looked on our price list, the first item that we come to is the category fountains, and it's crackling strobe pot. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, we want to go ahead and start them about right here. And now most people are sitting there thinking, okay, well I'll just set 2 of these out, move on. Well, that's fine, except that you have to realize that with your start order, you're getting a very small amount of what you should have available in the 3rd and 4th as far as volume of merchandise. So you want to make sure and leave room for extra merchandise. So if, for instance, with crackling strobe pot, you don't want to put 2 behind each other. You want to set them out side by side so that you can put several out when you really want to stack up your counters for the 3rd and 4th. Likewise, the next item that comes is number 3 cones. Well, with number 3 cones, you may want a whole bunch of number 3 cones. So let's just go ahead and spread it out a little bit, and we'll just leave ourselves enough room to put a bunch of number 3 cones. Because after all, you can't stack these, so you're going to want to be able to put a whole bunch on the counters. Next, we come to pipsqueak. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and leave plenty of room. And then on our corner, we want to leave room for our bags. Now this is a crate that we're going to put bags in. You could just set them on the counters. You could arrange them however you want, but you need to leave room on your corner for bags. So we're going to skip the corner. Let's say you don't have any bags out right now. Skip the corner, and then we're going to go to our next item.
If for some reason you come to an item that is on the list, but you do not have it, and you've already put out all the other products and you still do not have it, and the actual sheet that you got says that you got it, do not assume that you just are not going to get that. That probably means there was a mistake made and somehow it got overlooked and you didn't get it. Likewise, if for some reason you have a 0 on it, you don't necessarily need to leave a space for it. You might want to double check with us at the office to make sure that you're not going to be getting that product at all.
Now, as we've continued on down the list and we put out more items, we get to our big reloadables. This is where we use our drop-down counter. This is the 4 that should be out. It's the Excalibur, Goliath, United We Stand, and Moab. This is how you stand them up. This is how they should look. One thing to keep in mind is we went ahead and dropped our counters down ahead of time, which is great if you can predict where they are. Just keep in mind that you need to be careful doing that. In a lot of cases, we'll have tent operators that will build their counters. Once they figure out where exactly these items are going to finally sit, then they'll drop the counters down. It's up to you, but it's really important that they be in order of the list that we give you.
All right, now that we've laid out all the products and we end with the firecrackers, now we want to just go back and insert all our 70% off items. Now, you might get a rocket as a 70% off. You might get a firecracker. You might get some kind of 500 grams. So you want to make sure and put that particular 70% item in the correct category that it goes with. So basically, this is a 70% item. I've already got all the firecrackers laid out. and this should be going right there. Well, there's not enough room, so therefore you want to shift it down to leave enough room to put that 70% item right there. You just want it somewhere in the middle. It doesn't have a specific place, just somewhere within that category of products. Make sure you do not put them all together. That is a huge mistake. Basically, you want people to come in and say, where are your discount items? And then you can say, well, they're dispersed throughout the entire tent.
Now that we've come to the end of our list, we've gone all the way down the price list, we put out all of our items. As you can see, coincidentally, because this is the way we wanted it to be this time, we got done with just enough space. However, I can guarantee you that this is not going to happen to you. Generally, this never happens. Usually, you're going to get done, your items are going to stop here, and you're going to have all this counter space left, or you're going to get to the end, and you're still going to have 6 or 7 items to put out. Well, if that's the case, that's why you do not put your product cards down beforehand or as you go. You have, like, once you get all your merchandise out, since the product cards aren't down, it's an easy fix. We're going to go around and we're going to shift them, and we're going to make everything fit. So now we're going to go back and we're going to look at some of our smaller items and say, you know what, this really doesn't need that much room. Let's go ahead and let's make less room, and then we can shift everything down. Likewise, if you've got a bunch of space left at the end, and this is the way you'd stack them out, you may say, you know what, since I've got all this extra space left, really I'd like to have more room for this item. So we're going to go ahead and spread it out more, and you can shift everything down. All right, now that we've got all of our merchandise out, it's all spread out, adjusted exactly the way we want it, it all fits. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lay our product cards out. Now when you're laying your product cards out, you're going to want to come to your beginning, because your product cards should come in order. And so the first card that I come to is Crackling Strobe Pot. Here's the item, I lay it down. I'm only going to lay a couple cards out at a time. The next one is number 3 cone. The next one's Pipsqueak. What you do not need to do is go around and lay all these cards out without taping them down. Once I get a couple out, then I go ahead, I take my clear tape, very important to use clear tape, and I go ahead and I tape them down. Now the reason that you don't want to go ahead and lay them all out and then try to tape them down is I've done this before myself, and a gust of wind comes in and then you've got product cards everywhere. Once you get done putting all of your cards out, then you can work on decorating. This is optional, completely optional, but I will tell you that most of our operators that have been very, very successful at running fireworks tents, one thing they all have in common is they all decorate. This doesn't look bad, but what would look better is to take a basket and then take your, once you get a bunch of these, you might want to stack the full containers up behind. Odds are you're not going to sell this entire box. People are going to want to buy individual ones. So instead of just stacking them up on your counter, you can take a basket or some other sort of decorative item and basically open them up and put all the loose ones in here. Likewise, there's a lot of other ideas. All of these are in your tent setup manual. People use tubes for rockets. This is a tube, and you just place it on the counter, screw it in, stick your rockets in. You can do this with Roman candles. We've seen people that have cut boxes and painted them, fish tanks, you name it, people have used it. There's a lot of different pictures in the setup manual. It would be a good idea to go through there and look at those and try to use some other people's ideas and decorate your tent.